Welcome to Beat Diabetes. I'm Dennis Pollock, and today we're going to talk about, you guessed it, Trojan horses. What in the world do Trojan horses have to do with diabetes? Well, you're going to find out today. Let me share something from Google about Trojan horses. It says, metaphorically, a Trojan horse has come to mean any trick or strategy that causes a target to invite a foe into a securely protected fortress or place. So the idea is you are inviting your enemy in, but you don't realize you've just done that. And Wikipedia says this about the history of the Trojan horse. Now, as far as I can determine, there never really was a Trojan horse incident. It's part of a poem and it's part of tradition, but there's no historical basis for this Trojan horse story. Sorry to burst your bubble if you are a big believer in that. I mean, that's as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Anyway, here's what Wikipedia says about the idea of the Trojan horse and where it's supposed to have come from. It says, after a fruitless 10-year siege, the Greeks constructed a huge wooden horse at the behest of Odysseus, and hid a select force of men inside, including Odysseus himself. The Greeks pretended to sail away, and the Trojans pulled the horse into their city as a victory trophy. That night, the Greek force crept out of the horse, and opened the gates for the rest of the Greek army, which had sailed under cover of darkness. The Greeks entered and destroyed the city, ending the war. So, the idea, a Trojan horse, something that you don't want, you have just let into your city, house, fortress, whatever it is. In the computer world and the world of computers, there are programs that are called Trojans, and they have viruses in them, but you don't know it. And it may be a very harmless little email that tells you to click on it, and if you do, you'll wish you hadn't. And there are some programs you can download thinking you're getting some fancy little cute program, and it will lock your computer up and destroy it. So you got to be aware of that for sure. Again, what does that have to do with diabetes? Well, what it has to do with is you're allowing something in that has no business in your life, in your body. And that's really what we're talking about, is the diet and things that people allow in because they look so good. That Trojan horse, I guess, looked very attractive. And they thought, well, we've got a real nice little souvenir of how we held off the Greeks. And it turned out it was for their destruction. So let's give some example of dietary Trojan horses. But before I do, let me show you what's not a Trojan horse. Here is a box of Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops are not a Trojan horse. Everybody and their mama knows Fruit Loops are not good for you. They're just a goofy, sugary cereal. Nobody would claim that Fruit Loops is a part of a healthy diet. Maybe it tastes good, and yeah, I've had them a few times back in the day. But they are not part of a healthy diet, and they're not fooling anybody. Nobody really believes, boy, if I eat Fruit Loops, I'll really get healthy and strong. I don't know of a Fruit Loops diet anywhere, and if there is one and you know about it, let me know. I'd be curious. But here are some real Trojan horses, dietarily, foods that look like they ought to be healthy for you, and yet they're not at all healthy. One of them, something I saw at the grocery store the other day, the blueberry fruit pie. Fruit pies have a good reputation in the sense that they've got fruit in them, and anything with fruit has to be good for you, right? And that's the theory. And yet when you look at the carbs on this blueberry fruit pie, it has 43 grams of carbs, more than a candy bar. A medium-sized candy bar has around 36 grams of carbs, 33 to 36. So when you're running 43 grams of carbs, and most of those are sugar or else white flour carbs, which are just about equally bad, you are doing yourself no favor to eat a fruit pie, even if it does have some fruit in it. Here's another one, Amazon trail mix. Well, that surely ought to be good. I mean, it's called a trail mix, right? You're hiking in the mountains, walking along the trail, hiking and singing songs. I love to go a-wandering along the hill so fair. We used to sing that in grade school. And so we just assume it's got to be healthy for you. And yet this has 14 grams of carbs per quarter cup. Now, you may say, well, 14 grams, that's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not too bad. But notice the serving size, 1/4 cup, which is nothing. Nobody can eat a 1/4 cup of trail mix. If you start in on trail mix, you'll finish off about 1.5 cups before you're ready to stop. So when they give you 1/4 cup serving size, they're being deceitful, to put it mildly, because they know you won't eat a 1/4 cup. Nobody else will eat a 1/4 cup. If I were to start eating trail mix, I wouldn't either. So if you eat a cup, that 14 becomes 56 grams of carbs. Again, more than a soda, more than a candy bar. It's just laced with sugar. Another example, brown cow yogurt. Now, yogurt loves to put fruit in it because they trick you into feeling like, well, it must be good for me. I mean, after all, yogurt itself has a good reputation and fruit has a good reputation. So if you put yogurt with fruit, you've got to have something great, right? And the answer is wrong. You don't. And the fruit has sugar in it, and they won't stop with just the fruit. They'll put in some real sugar in it as well and stir it all around, and you'll eat it, and it'll be sweet, and it'll be kind of have a fruity taste and a fruity look to it, and it will jack up your blood sugar like crazy. Brown cow yogurt, 25 grams of carbs per tub. Well, could be worse. But really, someone who's got severe diabetes, that ought to be your carbs per day, not per a little cup of yogurt. Another example here is a fruit and yogurt cereal. So the cereal version of fruit and yogurt, made by Kellogg's, 36 grams of carbs per 1 cup. Again, with cereal, most people are not going to eat 1 cup. Take out a cup measure and pour some cereal into it and see if that seems like a normal size. Why they would call that a serving size, well, I do know. They're being deceitful. They're tricking you. They don't want to give you what normal people would eat, what almost anybody would eat, which would be 1.5 cups to 2 cups. And so they say per 1 cup it's 36. But even 36, I mean, you're at candy bar level. You're at Coca-Cola level. So, and I'm not talking about Diet Cokes. I'm talking about sugary Cokes. All right, next one. Boy, this one sure looks healthy. It's called, and even sounds healthy, the Mestermacher whole grain bread. Where they came up with such a name, sounds German, don't know for sure. Mestermacher whole grain bread. You look at this bread. It looks so healthy, so crunchy, so nutty, so brown. It's got to be good for you, right? And yet, one slice of this bread is 31 grams. Now, I believe it has 8 grams of fiber, so you could deduct that. You'd be down to 23 grams. But that means if you have a sandwich with good old Mestermacher bread, I mean, you are up to 46 grams of carbs. Again, more than a candy bar, more than a Coca-Cola. And that's just the bread, and it doesn't even taste sweet, but it sure looks healthy. It sure looks good, and it's whole grain. It's not nasty old white bread, and yet not good at all. Not good for diabetics, not good for pre-diabetics, not good for people that don't ever want to be diabetic, not good for 18-year-olds or 55-year-olds or 75-year-olds. And there's another bread I wanted to show you. This one is called Dave's Killer Bread. And we'll just, this is still part of the bread, so we'll call the regular bread was Trojan horse number 5. This is 5B. Dave's Killer Bread. Well, that's appropriately named. Killer Bread, 22 grams of carbs for 1 slice. You get a sandwich, you have 2 slices, you're up to 44, more than a Coke, more than a candy bar, a medium candy bar. Now, it does have 4 grams of fiber per slice, so 18 grams if you deduct the fiber, but that's for 1 slice. You have 2 slices, as in a sandwich, you're up to 36, about equal to a Coca-Cola or a candy bar. The idea that if you just eat whole grain bread, you get a free pass, baby. You just don't have to worry about it. Don't even look at the carbs. It's whole wheat, for heaven's sake. It's brown, it's crunchy looking, it's nutty looking. Yet it will jack your sugar up almost as fast and as high as just eating sugar out of a sugar bowl. good old plain white sugar like my mom used to provide on our table. And we'd dump it on our cereal, and we'd dump it on our oatmeal. And sometimes she'd even fix us rice with milk, and we'd dump it on the rice with the milk. But you eat this whole grain bread, you're not doing any better. You're not saving yourself any kind of real problem. It is absolute disaster. Read my lips, disaster for diabetics, pre-diabetics, and people that don't ever want to be diabetic. All right, the sixth Trojan horse, Tropicana grape juice drink, and this applies basically to all fruit juices. But this one is especially bad. It has 52 grams of carbs for one bottle. 52 grams of carbs. Way too many. I mean, that's well past what you ought to be eating in a day, especially if you're wanting to get your A1C down. And you get it in one little bottle. I forget how many ounces it is. Well, it should say here in this picture. Well, I don't know. But anyway, one bottle, one serving, 52 grams of carbs. Ridiculous. And then the last one is granola cereal. This one is called Upic. And it has 18 grams of carbs. Again, you might say, well, not great, but not too terrible. Hey, that's for 1/3 of a cup. And nobody's going to eat granola cereal or any other cereal at a 1/3 cup. You'll probably have a cup and a half. Why do they give you a 1/3 cup as a serving size? It's called deceit. It's called trickery. It's called marketing. So they give you this tiny little serving size of this tiny little bit of granola cereal. And then they say, well, we've only got 18 grams of carbs. And they hope you're foolish enough to not even think about the serving size. And you just look at the carbs and say, well, that's not too bad. I think I can afford to have some. And then you eat like a cup and a half. And instead of getting your 18 grams, you're getting 54 plus half of that again. 36, you're getting about 90 grams of carbs. My math is right here on the fly. You're getting a bunch, let me say that. And you don't even realize it. And you don't even think about the fact that they gave you the carbs at a 1/3 cup serving level. Well, that brings me to a word that is not something that should apply to you. And the word is naive. Let me give you a definition of naive. This came somewhere from Google, I think. Having or showing a lack of experience, judgment, or information, credulous. And then they give you an example sentence. She's so naive, she believes everything she reads. Naive. And a lot of people, I mean, we all know they hear it and they believe it. We should eat a healthy diet. We should eat a healthy diet. It's preached like a drumbeat over and over again. Eat a healthy diet. But nobody dares to say a healthy diet is not going to have hardly any sugar or carbs to it. Very few carbs. And what carbs it does have should come from the low-carb vegetables section and maybe a few berries or an avocado or a lemon. Maybe if you're feeling really dangerous, you have half of a grapefruit. But the idea of eating foods like these, Trojan horses that are loaded with danger that knock on your door and tell you, we want in, we're pretty, we're healthy, we're noble, we're virtuous, you eat us and you'll feel like hiking in the mountains and singing Sunshine on My Shoulder. Don't you let these Trojan horses in. Now, I believe in testing my glucose, but there's no point in eating these and testing your glucose. I mean, I may do it once in a while just to prove a point. But there's really no point. When you see that 2 slices of bread are going to get you up around 55 grams of carbs or 45 grams of carbs, more than a candy bar, more than a Coke, why in the world would you eat it and test your blood sugar? There are some kind of iffy foods that you might want to try, like a bean soup or something that's got other lower carb foods in it and ingredients in it. And you may say, I wonder if that'll work for me. That's fine. Or even a small clementine, which is like a small orange. You might want to try that sometime with a meal. I think it has like 8 or 9 grams of carbs to it. And you might want to try that and see, well, does that work for me? But these that I've just been sharing with you, there's no point. There's absolutely 0 point in eating them and then testing your blood sugar afterwards. I mean, feel free, be my guest if you want to, but there's no point. When they've got that many carbs, you just stay away. It's like Trojan horse, you stay outside the gates. I'm not unlocking the gates for you to come in, not into my life, not into my temple, not into my body. No, I will not do it. So I guess the moral of the story for today's episode of Beat Diabetes is simply this: learn to spot Trojan horses and avoid them like the plague. I hope that this Beat Diabetes video has been a blessing to you. We're thrilled with every victory report about diabetes that we receive, but keep in mind that our primary ministry is teaching God's Word and lifting up the Savior, our Lord Jesus Christ. We recently sponsored a mission in Kakamega, Kenya. As usual, the centerpiece of this mission was our Jesus Conference, which features 20 videos created by Benedict and me, aimed at pastors, teachers, evangelists, and church leaders, and focused on sharing the gospel of Jesus and abiding in Him personally. At the end of the conference, we award certificates for all who attend. This is more than just teaching, however. These 4-day conferences are an event. We pay for meals for the participants, and we have breaks for tea and fellowship. We set aside discussion times after each study, where the attendees can ask questions and share insights they've gained. We also provide a free medical clinic for the area, which the Africans really appreciate. Many of them do not have access to doctors and clinics, and in some cases, they just can't afford medical help, even if there were a doctor nearby. And finally, we provide food for the local widows who often do not have the job skills to get any kind of real work and struggle with hunger and lack constantly. It is your generosity that makes these conferences and outreaches possible. Please consider making a generous donation to Spirit of Grace Ministries. See the link in the description.